Welcome to yet another exciting edition of Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. On this edition of the program, National Sports Commission steps up preparation for African School Games. And coming in from the world of Formula One, British driver wins the first Formula One world title. Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid, crash out at home at the NL in the La Liga in Spain. Details of this and many more will be yours when we do return from the break. Stay with us. Welcome back, and Mike is here this hour.
Yeah, thanks for having me on this Monday morning edition of the show. Glad to be here.
Let's get started. Of course, we're in marathon where Kenya's Skefa Manutola produced a very dominant display at the weekend to win the men's title at the 2025 Abuja City International Half Marathon. The Kenyans continue to dominate in marathon.
Yeah, I think as always, it's expected that whenever the Kenyans or Ethiopian, are in a long distance race, whether long or short, but so long as it's a long, distance race, you expect them to, be one of the favorites, which is what they did back in Abuja.
Look at the timing; he finished 1 hour, 5 minutes, 14 seconds. That's quite a remarkable time in the African marathon race.
Definitely, and he actually broke, of course, the timing of the first edition of it. So I think for me, like I was saying, it wasn't a surprise because the Kenyans, they've always been up there when it has to do with all this kind of race. This is their area of, comparative advantage in terms of athletic activities. So for me, it's no surprise as they've almost wrapped up every high position available both in the male and in the female category, and then the money that comes with it about $800 $1,000
$8,000 US.
which is massive. Translating that to the naira equivalent, so of course you know what that gives you. So I think for me, they've made it a point of duty that this is our own area. This is where we gain mastery. Whenever it is hosted anywhere, anytime, we are pretty much ready. And I think this is what we should be doing. It's not just about we hosting all these marathon races. We've seen several marathon races, and some have gained even the platinum label, some have gained the gold label. But then we don't really make a serious impact to just host and allow other athletes from other African countries to come win it right here. So I think beyond the hosting, we should at least do a little bit more by making sure that we are one of the contenders, one of the favorites whenever we get to host. We have the Abuja City Marathon, there is the Lagos Marathon. Formerly, you used to hear of the Obudukatu Ranch Marathon. A few years ago back, we had the River State Marathon. So it's been a long, assemblage or competition that has to do with the long marathon races right here in Nigeria especially, but then when we host it, we allow other athletes to come win the major trophies and the money, and I think we need to improve on that.
Beyond winning, there is more to the marathon event. For the second edition held in Abuja, Kenya completed a clean sweep of the men's podium with Edwin Kibiago taking second place, while Ezekiel Kebukuvumi, another Kenyan, came third. Of course, all the money on the showcase, 8,000, 6,000, and 5,000 US dollars respectively for the first, second, and third place position went to Kenya. A lot of money leaving Nigeria to Kenya, if you ask me. But that's what it is. You really have to earn it, and that's what the Kenyans earn. Nigeria's Adamushu led the home challenge, finishing strongly in 1 hour, 8 minutes, 25 seconds. Mike, he earned $2 million US dollars for his effort. $2,000 for his effort.
I think it's a good one to encourage.
$4,000. That translating to about 2 million naira.
Yeah, a good one to encourage him maybe to at least try more harder come next time out. But then this 2 million naira, is that a good one? Of course, yeah. Maybe just for the beginning, at least to go a long way to encourage the athlete to, at least, of course, continue the improvement, because if no any little reward, it could also discourage.
There was another Nigerian who won.
Yeah.
Outer Monday, he came. Just say he had the $500 for his effort.
Yeah.
That's another translating to about 1.5 million naira, if you ask me.
Yeah, I see finisher within the podium. I think it's a good one to encourage the athletes.
Generally, we had like 4 Nigerians or so who actually got to the podium at the end of the day. There was Saturday, Friday, Elisha, who got there as well. Meanwhile, like he mentioned, the women were, Kenyan women as well did win the top honors in the marathon event held at the weekend here in Nigeria. We say congratulations to the Kenyans, and of course to the Nigerians that will go to the podium. They should put in more effort, because I'm sure there is more to it for the Nigerians at the Ethiopia and Nigeria made up the race. Meanwhile, let's bring you some latest from the African Games. We understand preparations are in top gear for the second edition of the African Games to be held in Abuja in 2027. Mike, we've seen this before. Can we come to the party with a high level of organization?
Definitely. I think if we take a look at the last, National Youth Game right here that took place in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, there was, some thumbs up for the local organizing committee, talking in terms of trying to organize the game and make it more successful. I think we had a near successful organizational structure in the last National Sport Festival held in Ogun State. I think take a look at the preparation on ground for the next edition of this to take place at the co-city state, which is Enugu. You can also agree that massive preparation has been on ground. I have no doubt that when the school games come calling, we're going to have yet another impeccable organizational structure that can please, help those athletes to feel very comfortable. So I think it will have what it takes to put up a top-notch organization.
Okay, let's quickly bring in some latest from the world of cricket. Nigeria, we understand, has continued to solidify their status as a team to beat at the ongoing West African Trophy tournament ongoing in Abuja. 9-wicket victory over Sierra Leone, and it looks like we are on course.
Definitely, and that is what it's looking likely. We've won the
toss
matches so far, so I think the team looking very smart, looking very sharp. Despite the failure of not qualifying for the next World Cup, then I think they're also making sure that at least when it has to do with Africa, we continue to maintain that relevance. So I think needed the likes of Sylvester Okwe and they brought that also, were very active. But we had a new player that was given chance, and of course, he was able to show the stuff is made up of a new emerging talent within the team, which for me I think is another plus for the Yellow Greens.
Talk about Yellow Greens, Nigeria's wicked cricket side, winning four consecutive victories there, and I think that is a big one. So congratulations to Yellow Greens of Nigeria. Of course, I didn't expect Sierra Leone to give us any tough time, if you ask me, but then it was nice to have consistent win. And now let's go to Formula One. The biggest news around the sports world, especially in Formula One this hour, is that a tearful Lando Norris won his very first Formula One Drivers' Championship by securing the third place he needed in the season-ending Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Mike, we've seen Lando Norris of McLaren, spectacular this season, and he's crowned it with a victory, a world title as well.
Deserving of him, I would say, because you take a look at how he started his season. It wasn't impressive start to the season, but then we saw at the second half of the season where he was able to dethrone his teammate, talking about Oscar Piastri, to take the lead. Ever since then, I think he's been maintaining that top level, despite some of the setback, in terms of the orders that came from above, but then he still remained dedicated and still remain on course for his first championship title, which for me I think has paid off. Despite the fact that he did not come first in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, but then he was still able to make a third place finish, which guarantees him just 2 points. It was more like a tight encounter heading to that final. He was 12 points ahead of Max Verstappen and 16 points ahead of his own teammate, Oscar Piastri, while they had about 25 points to contend for. So all three drivers were potentially in for the championship. But then at the end of it all, thank God that he was able to at least finish within the podium, which actually helped him. If not, Max Verstappen would have nicked that one in the board because he finished first. Just 2 point disparity, but then I can tell you that he deserved this particular one because he's been very fantastic throughout the course of especially the second lap of the season, becoming the 11th British driver to win this, and the first time in 1998 where McLaren will win the Constructors Championship and the Drivers Championship.
Talking about McLaren winning back again after a long while reminds me of Lewis Hamilton way back in 2008, the other driver that did put them in such a world championship position. Well, my heart goes out as well to Max Verstappen. 2 points could be very, very that's a too close to call, but then that's what it is. He has to live to fight next season. But McLaren in just a joyous mood this hour because apart from Norris, like you mentioned there, Oscar Piastri as well had the chance of bringing them to the mob. Is McLaren the new constructors?
I won't say, but then they had a reigning champion as it stands right now. We're talking about the new constructors. I think they need to show a bit of consistency. Can they replicate this come next season? Can they do it 3 in a row? Then that is when we begin to talk whether they are the new kid on the block, are they the new sheriff in terms of the constructors in the Formula One, competition. We'll just wait and see. But for now, it is certainly certain that the reigning champion, whether they are the new kids on the block, I think consistency in the next 2-3 years is going to probably answer that question better.
Well, we'll take a break now. When we return for a break, there will be more to bring to you because in the world of sports, there is a lot happening, especially in football. Here in the Nigerian Premier League, it looks like it was a weekend of interesting results across Europe as well. It was very intriguing. Yes, Arsenal dropped points and Real Madrid as well dropped points across in the La Liga. A very, very intriguing weekend. Goals were scored at the last minute in most of the centers. And we'll bring you some of these reports when we return from the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. And of course, earlier on, we told you how Nigeria has been doing so well, especially in the cricket event, where there was 4 consecutive wins at the weekend. Now, let's bring you up to speed with the latest football stories. And Mike is still here, and together we'll bring you the latest from the world of football. But just before then, basketball matches were in the topic in the hours of this morning. Portland Trail Blazers could not make up to 100 points because Memphis Grizzlies beat them by 109 points to 96. The Grizzlies Blazers playing at home couldn't make an impact with Mike.
Not a good one for the Trail Blazers, as we expected them to place on, especially playing at their home night off. But then, quite a difficult game it was for them as they failed to even hit the 100-point mark, which was a very low one for Trail Blazers. I hope they win their next game to at least see if they can be able to continue their quest for a top finisher this season in the Eastern Conference.
Orlando Magic were able to make 100 points, but it wasn't good enough because the New York Knicks beat them by 106 points out there. 100 points to 106. New York Knicks knowing what to do away there in Orlando.
For the Orlando Magic, I think they've not been so magical for this season. They are just blowing hot and cold. It's either they win today, lose tomorrow. So it was not a good game for them, especially the coach was talking tough ahead of the game, early hours of this morning. I was expecting him to do some changes, taking a look at how they struggled in the last game before this particular one. But then, it is what it is. Sometimes you lose some, sometimes you win some.
Celtics, both Celtics beat their counterparts from Canada, Toronto Raptors. Yes, they beat them by 121 points to 113 points. Denver Nuggets were in excellent form. They beat Hornets by 115 points to 106 points. And the Warriors, no doubt, continue to show that they are in for something this season. They beat Chicago Bulls by 123 points to 91 points. What's happening to the Bulls from Chicago?
I think injury is one of the key factors for the Chicago Bulls this season. Key of their players, about 2 are injured in that one, but that is not an excuse, because if you fail to win a game, we have large pools of players to select from. So when your key players are not available, that is where you get to know the depth, the squad depth, the strength of the team. So I think it has been their concern, injury.
Talking about key players reminds me of the match between LA Lakers and, of course, their counterparts from Philadelphia, the Philadelphia 76ers, because it ended 112 points to 108 points. That was a match where a key player distinguished himself. LeBron James, 29 points on the night.
Yeah, for LeBron, I think he's been on and off so far this season. It's not the same LeBron we saw last 4 seasons ago, but then whenever it matters most, you definitely see him making some of those differences, taking some of those 3-pointers, and about mini rebounds out there. So you expect him to, of course, show his exceptional skills. Age comes with experience as well. So these days, it's not just more about the buzzer, but about using his techniques to, of course, get a better of his opponents.
29 points from LeBron James was good enough to see the Lakers from Los Angeles overpower their counterparts, the 76ers from Philadelphia in the United States of America. Enough for basketball now. Let's quickly go to football. And we'll start on from the local scene here, where the Nigerian Premier League was in heat, really hot heat at the weekend. Academy Warriors could not score, neither did FC Barrow score on the night. Meanwhile, Kano Pillars were able to overcome their counterparts, Kun Khalifa, by 2-1. Abia Warriors dropped 2 points at home in Umuahia because Rivers United was able to snatch one of the points, and it ended 1-1. Rivers United maybe slipped on the continent, but doing well on the local scene.
Yeah, with 27 points after 14 games, so they have 2 games at hand as we speak. So not a bad one, going away from home to pick about a valuable point. I think it's a good one. Despite the poor run in the continent, I think they should now focus their energy on to see how they can be able to fight for the league. Because if you ask me to be sincere with you, I think Rivers United quest at the continent might just be over after losing their two first. So I think the basic focus right now is to see how they can lay their hands on the league trophy.
If you were looking for goals at the weekend in the Nigerian Premier League, then it should have been at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium in Enugu, because 5 goals were on showcase. Rangers scored 4, while Bayelsa United scored 1. Rangers International merciless at home.
Yeah, for Rangers, I think they're gradually picking up their mojo. After some shaky starts to the season so far, some have complained the absence of the coach, Fidel Isidochukwu, as the key factor why they seem to be struggling. So now that he's back after some of the international duty, I think the team seems to be, back in their shape. But I think the building up to that game, there was so much controversy regarding the working relationship between Fidel Isidochukwu and Ekene Dilechukwu, who is his assistant. So that was one of the major talking points which actually engulfed the game itself. But at the end of it all, thank God he granted an interview from after that game, stating the position very clear that there is no bad feeling among them. They're still working to ensure that at least the club gets better. So good result for them.
The Lorry Kwara United beat Niger Tornadoes by 2-0. It was a slim 1-0 win over Warri Wolves by Plateau United. Remo Stars managed to beat Eyimba by 2-1. Wiki Torres played a goalless draw with Ikorodu City. Later today, in the Premier League here in Nigeria, Katsina United will take on Bende Insurance, while Nasarawa United will host Shooting Stars of Ibadan. Meanwhile, Mike, so far so good in the Nigerian Premier League. A lot of people are saying officiating looks a lot better this season than we've seen before.
Definitely, and of course you can give that credit to the league board led by Benga Elegbele. I think there is a paradigm shift from what we often see in the past, where referees has been at the center of every big controversy in terms of decision making in officiating games and all of that. But I think there is a paradigm shift gradually from the norms of bad officiating to seeing how to, of course, make the league better. At the time where Nigeria referees find it difficult to get a slot in the CAF organized competition, be it the African Cup of Nations, CAF Champions League. So I think the referees are also trying to up their ante. And secondly, you could also see the new innovation, the warnings and decision actions, being taken by league board itself in terms of referees is sending a stern warning direct to referees that if you fail to officiate a game properly, if there's an act that lead to the reputation tarnishing of the league image, then you will be queried and therefore punished. So I think some of the referees are beginning to take caution of this. So I think we are gradually moving away from the days of poor officiating to try to correct our mistakes.
Away from the Premier League here in Nigeria, and the Nations Cup is just a few days away, and Nigeria's Egypt friendly ahead of the Nations Cup, we understand, has been moved to the 16th of December, just about 3 days before the Nations Cup gets started.
And the reason is very simple: the FIFA shifting of date for clubs to release their players for this 16 to 15 has made that very, very, very possible, because most of the key players of both national team will not be available. Taking a look at the fact that the time line has been shifted for players released by their club side out there. So I think this is what led to the shifting of that very day. I think for me it is okay if you want to have a great friendly match, a proper preparation leading up to the African Cup of Nations, then you need to start your key players and see how they can be able to fare in the African Cup of Nations.
Talking about African Cup of Nations, there will be no William Troost-Ekong for Nigeria, because he has now retired from international football. Most of the top countries going to the Nations Cup in Morocco in the next few days have named their first team squad. Of course, we know that Nigeria has sent out a list of about 55 players or so. We expect that it will be reduced to the final squad of 28 any moment soon. Before Nigerian time. But for now, let's look at the results of the matches across Europe at the weekend. Mike, the Premier League, we saw some intriguing results in the Premier League at the weekend. First, it was Arsenal dropping points with the last kick of their match against Aston Villa. Aston Villa, one of the 4 teams that struggled, stopped Arsenal last season. The other 3 had been stopped, but it looked difficult. It looks like they were going to get a result against Aston Villa 1-1 up till the 94th minute, and boom, there was that goal that ensured all 3 points stayed at the Villa Park.
I think it was a good display from Aston Villa side, led by Unai Emery. Don't forget, on Friday I said it here that Unai Emery know how to play this Arsenal side because he is their former coach. He understands the tactics and the pattern of Arsenal. This same Unai Emery said Aston Villa actually dented the title aspiration of this same Arsenal, even away from home last season by beating Arsenal at home, where Arsenal needed all 3 points at that crucial moment. So it has always been a very difficult fight for Arsenal whenever they face the Valiants. And then again, if you take a look at the game plan, how Aston Villa approached that game, and building up to the game, Aston Villa had won about 5 of their last game heading into that, so they were in form as well. So Arsenal, I think, I call it maybe a real test in terms of their title.
Well, talking about Arsenal's performance of the weekend against Aston Villa, a lot of people believe that the double pairing at the central defense of Arsenal, in the absence of Gabriel and of course William Saliba, affected the team's performances. But then it is what it is. Arsenal still stays on top of the Premier League table with a 2-point gap between them and Manchester City. And talking about Manchester City at the weekend, they beat Sunderland by 3-0. That looks like that's a good result for Manchester City because Sunderland so far is one of the informed teams of the Premier League, and that result 3-0 looks like a one-sided encounter, but it is at the Etihad Stadium, home of Manchester City. Tottenham Hotspur beat Brentford by 2-0 at the weekend as well, while Leeds and Liverpool played out a 3-3 draw. What a classic encounter that one ended. 6-goal thriller, for Leeds. Mike, did you watch that encounter? 2-0 as it was at the beginning of the encounter.
Yeah.
And at the stage it became 2-2. Liverpool went ahead 3-2, and Leeds had an idea to wrap it up at almost the last minute of that encounter.
I think Liverpool continued their shambolic display so far this season, and I think taking 2 goals a lead and allowing a team like Leeds United to come back into that game, I think it shows how consistently inconsistent that this Liverpool side has been so far this season. And I tell you, the pressure is gradually mounting on Ancelotti. After that game, you saw the bombshell from Mo Salah, regarding his role as he stands right now. Who knows if we'll be leaving by January, because he has actually caused an uproar after that interview, shortly after that draw. But in all, I think Liverpool, they need to sit up. If not, maybe they might just not even qualify for the Champions League next season.
Talking about last-minute goals at the Premiership last weekend, we saw Brighton force West Ham to a 1-1 draw, and it was one of the last-minute encounter where a goal did show up. Mike, did you see that one?
No, I didn't really see that one coming, but then football is full of surprises. Sometimes you are not really surprised if you are ardent a football fuller, knowing how the gameplay always, pounds out. Sometimes you expect certain teams to win, but then they go on to lose the game. So I think it is football for you, and that is why it is so exciting, and that is why it's very, very unpredictable.
Talking about the unpredictable, Fulham lost at home to Crystal Palace, and Crystal Palace now is into the Champions League places, if you ask me.
Definitely, they are in 4th position with 26 points, even above teams like Chelsea, and even Liverpool. So for Crystal Palace, let's see if they can keep up with this pace. Despite selling some of their key players last year, yet they are still doing pretty well.
Talking about Chelsea, Bournemouth forced them to. They were forced to a goalless draw at the weekend. Everton beat Nottingham Forest by 3-0, and I told you earlier how Manchester City were 3 better than their opponents on the night. Now, let's quickly go to the La Liga in Spain. We saw some interesting results as well coming in from the La Liga in Spain. Elche beat Girona by 3-0. It was 1-0 between Valencia and Sevilla. Espanyol were just a goal better than Rayo Vallecano. Well, last night, Celta Vigo had an excellent game at the Camp Nou because they beat Real Madrid by 2-0. And a win-win for Celta Vigo. No one expected this one, especially given that Real Madrid needed to catch up with Barcelona on top of the La Liga table.
It is one of the surprises of the game, which I talked about earlier, that football is quite unpredictable. Nobody expected Celta Vigo to inflict that injury on Real Madrid, especially playing at the Bernabeu. Most persons or pundits expected Real Madrid to get direct 3 points to closing the gap on the leaders Barca. But then quite disappointing for Real Madrid because it looks as though any time that Kylian Mbappe fails to fire, Madrid always find it difficult to win games. A great result from Celta Vigo.
Celta Vigo getting it, especially at the last minute with a fantastic second goal there. That goal was a television goal, or it is a television goal if you ask me. Villarreal beat Getafe by 2-0 in La Liga. It was 1-0 for Alaves over Real Sociedad. Betis playing at home were hammered by FC Barcelona 5-3, and now Barcelona has a 4-point gap on top of the La Liga table, Mike.
Yeah, great one for Barca side. After Madrid has, sit in that, top of the table for a very long while, for a few weeks right now. Thank God that Barca is back into the title contention. I think, Hansi Flick could be a happy man right now. Now that they are in the driver's seat, we see if Madrid can reply by making sure that they dethrone them, but then it's going to be very difficult.
It was a difficult encounter between Athletic Club and Atletico Madrid. Athletic Club Bilbao were able to beat Madrid, Atletico Madrid by 1-0. Very difficult encounter. I watched that one through.
Yeah, it was always a difficult encounter whenever the Madrid-based side meet each other, whether Atletico Madrid, Athletic Club, or Real Madrid. Was always a very difficult one, but then many expected Atletico Madrid to win that very one. Quite disappointing. They couldn't get all three points because this is the only team that you can possibly say that they can stand to challenge the likes of Real Madrid or Barcelona in terms of the league title.
Talking about league title, it is very hot in the Italian Serie A because of the results that are trickling in. Cremonese beat Lecce by 2-0. Cagliari beat Roma by 1-0. It was 1-1 between Lazio and Bologna. Napoli found a way to beat Juventus by 2-1 at the weekend.
It's no surprise for me. Juventus, I think
they were informed. They started getting results
of late, but nowhere to be near with the form of Napoli throughout the course of the season. And then also playing at the Diego Armando Maradona Stadium was yet another factor for Napoli to get all 3 points against the old ladies.
Meanwhile, Inter Milan hammered Como by 4-0, and Verona defeated Atalanta by 3-1. Later today, we will see Pisa up against Parma, while Udinese will take on Genoa in the Italian Serie A. I think AC Milan will be action very late tonight. Torino versus AC Milan comes up at about 9 p.m. Nigerian time. Meanwhile, in the German Bundesliga, we had some interesting results. Hamburg beat Werder Bremen by 3-2. Borussia Dortmund were 2 goals better than Hoffenheim, and we saw FC Henderson, being beating Freiburg by 2-1. Cologne were 1-1 better. Was 1-1 in an encounter with the Poli. Well, it was Augsburg 2, Bayern Leverkusen no goal at the weekend. Bayern Munich do not want to let off at the the German Bundesliga. They hammered Stuttgart away by 5 unreplied goals. Wow, what's happening with Bayern Munich? They do not have any mercy, against teams. They just want to win the league, even before maybe with weeks or do I say weeks to the end of the league table, Mike.
Yeah, for Bayern Munich, I think they are consistently consistent in terms of churning out positive results, especially for this season. I think it is only Arsenal that have been able to, desecrate their fine form of run, both home and, away so far this season. So Vincent Kompany, It's looking likely that Bayern Munich are back to doing what they know how to do best, which is to dominate the Bundesliga, and I see them winning it.
What happened in the encounter between Wolfsburg and FC Union Berlin? 14 goals on the night.
It was a
Wolfsburg losing at home,
yes,
by 3 goals to 11. Union Berlin scoring 11 goals in a league fixture in the German Bundesliga.
I think it's quite a long time that we saw this kind of a scoreline, especially in the German Bundesliga. It's not a league where you find it easy to score teams like 10 goals or even 6, 7, 8 goals. It is only Bayern Munich that can be able to, beat teams 6-0, 7-0 in the German Bundesliga, but this very encounter was more like rain of goals out there.
Talking about goals in the German Bundesliga at the weekend, there was another rain of heavy number of goals. RB Leipzig beat Eintracht Frankfurt by 6 goals to nothing. So if you're looking for goals, go check them out in the German Bundesliga. We have to run, but then there was some action as well in the French League 1. Nice lost at home. Angers beating them by 1 goal to nothing. Auxerre beat Metz by 3 goals to 1 in League 1 in France. Paris FC forced a goalless draw by Le Havre. Lorient beat Lyon by 1 goal to nothing. Lens beat Nantes by 2 goals to 1. Paris Saint-Germain had all the goals to score. They scored 5 past Rennes in the French League 1. Monaco managed, but they lost to Brest, small Brest, by 1 goal to nothing. Lille beat Marseille by 1 goal to nothing as well. Meanwhile, we have to wrap up the show, Mike. Lionel Messi is in the news. He's won the MLS Cup in the United States of America.
Yeah, a great one for Lionel Messi. I think he's won it all. A club that was just taken over by David Beckham a few years ago, where they almost went to relegation, if not that their leagues out there doesn't get anyone relegated. But then 3 years after the signing of Lionel Messi has actually changed the face of MLS, and of course the Inter Miami out there, giving them their first trophy for the first time. So I think he continued to, of course, show the stuff that he's made up of, talking about Lionel Messi, arguably the goods in terms of world football.
When I talk about big name players, Lionel Messi, that reminds me of Neymar Jr., who plays for Santos in Brazil. He was able to help his team, Santos, beat Cruzeiro by 3 goals to nothing, ensuring that Santos stays up in the top league in the Brazilian league. But then, on the other side of it, he will have to undergo surgery after that last match of the season. Santos and Neymar paired, you see CMS tweets.
Definitely, despite playing with injury, yet he's still very much ready to bring Santos back, because they are not seated in a very good position. They are fighting relegation, of course, a good one that is playing under injury, yet he was able to score the hat-trick that seems to be pulling them out of the drowning water.
Well, that will be it for this edition of Sports Talk. We'll be back at 6 p.m. for Sports Extraordinary. Like we mentioned to you, there's a lot happening in the world of sports, especially in Formula 1, when there's a new World Championship driver. And beyond that, in football, there's a lot of controversy, especially with Mohamed Salah of Liverpool blowing very hot. And I'm not sure Arne Slot will be having it comfortable. Look at what Mohamed Salah said. And of course, if he will be returning back to Liverpool after the African Cup of Nations in a happy state. A lot to talk about at 6 p.m. Until then, remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Always enjoy here on the Atlantic Television Network.